morning, the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
Kish is present and Abraham is absent.
Chris, just so you were, Trustee Abraham does have a medical issue that prevents him from being here this evening.
Okay, with that, I will start with the Amherst Township meeting minutes from March 14th, 2023, a regular meeting. The meeting was called to order at 7:02 p.m. by Lynch, pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, and Kish were present. Euring was absent. Also in attendance, L. Ashley, K. Smarsh, S. D'Ambrosio, G. Lynch, J. Whitman, and K. Hill. 3-1-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the February 28th, 2023 regular meeting minutes as corrected. Roll call, Lynch and Abraham were ayes. 3-2-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing, which includes ARPA fund expenditures as specified in the documents provided by the fiscal officer. Roll call, Lynch and Abraham were ayes. Trustee Euring arrived at 7:10 p.m. 3-3-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham. Move to approve the permanent annual appropriation measure for 2023 per Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.38. All ayes. Under correspondence, Fiscal Officer Kish noted that we received a meeting notification from ODOT regarding developing the 2024 through 2027 statewide transportation improvement program, Ohio's 4-year transportation planning document. This meeting will be held on March 28th, 2023 from 2 to 6 p.m. at the District 3 Main Conference Room in Ashland, Ohio. There will be a meeting on March 21st, 2023 at 10:40 a.m. on the 4th floor of the Lorain County Administration Building of the Tax Incremental Review Council for the 10-year 75% tax incremental financing applicable to the infrastructure serving the Hampshire Farms development. Trustee Lynch noted a special meeting of the Lorain County Public Health District Advisory Council will be held Thursday, March 16th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. The meeting will be held just prior to the Lorain County Township Association meeting at Amherst Township, 7530 Oberlin Road, Elyria, Ohio, 44035. The purpose of the meeting is to report Lorain County Public Health's activities from 2022 and a look ahead into 2023. We needed a quorum at the meeting, so it is important for each city, township, and village is represented. If you are the chief executive of a city or village and unable to attend the meeting, you may send a representative in your place as long as that individual is an elected official. Under reports, for zoning, 5 new homes this year, 18 total permits this year. Sam also discussed a change to the zoning office hours to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 11 a.m., and Saturday and other times by appointment. He has observed that Saturday hours are not utilized, and he felt a Friday option would work better for the residents. Under road, parks, and cemetery, potholes and regular maintenance, snow removal with the storm we had today. Township Administrator continuing to help zoning inspector and preparing for the Lorain County Township Association meeting on Thursday. Trustee Lynch noted that there is still issues from a resident regarding Quarry Creek drainage issues. He is waiting for a response from Lorain County Stormwater District Director Don Romanchik. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. Under old business, Trustee Lynch noted that he, Kevin, and Linda met to discuss the park dumpster, and currently it will not work due to loss of parking. It was concluded the Exhibit E, which must be included in the 2023 Solid Waste Consortium bid package for curbside waste and recycling services, would remain the same, and asked Trustee Euring to notify the Solid Waste Consortium legal representative Megan Moore of Baker Hostetler that no PEC grant will be held in escrow so a larger project can be completed. Under new business, 3-4-23, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, authorize the Board of Trustees chairperson and/or fiscal officer to take all actions necessary to accept the material terms of the Teva, Allegra, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart National Opioid Settlement Agreement as part of the One Ohio Opioid Settlements, reference number CL-389410. See Amherst Township Resolution 7/1722. All ayes. Under quiet zone, Norfolk has stated 90 days from receipt of letter, which was already sent, we should be receiving notification of the state start date of the railroad quiet zone. The next regularly scheduled meeting, it will be Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall, 3523. A motion by Abraham, seconded by Urick, to adjourn at 7:48 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections in the March 14, 2023 meeting minutes?
None.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the March 14, 2023 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Okey-dokey. Under your financial reports, the first thing you have is the payment listing. That includes a payroll for your month end. Other than that,
Get more detail on the southeastern equipment payment there, Chris.
Southeastern Equipment.
That's 102-2020, I'm sorry, 162.
I don't have the bill in front of me. I don't know what it's about.
Okay, is there a dollar amount?
2,238.40.
There was the backhoe
Yes.
broke down. That was a service call. They had to bring a computer out to set it back up. It wasn't covered under warranty because it was a ripped wire off of something with the DEF fluid. And we went through the whole computer, say, in the system with the tractor, and went through it, and it said that it had bad DEF fluid in it. Went through the gig, drained it, cleaned it, put new fluid in it, and let it sit for the 2 hours, running, doing its thing, and it still didn't clear the problem. So they said that they would have to come out with a computer, reset it, yada, yada, yada. Big bunch of junk. It's scam.
Amazing, a simple wire disconnection.
It's exactly what it was.
Can't always trust what the diagnostics is telling you.
So it could have been from the brush pile. There is a guard on it, but it's not, completely foolproof. That's kind of what makes sense with it running over a stick or something. Took it out.
So the case is going to make a design change then to improve the
If the
maintenance
government
and
allows
service
it.
of the equipment?
It's kind of like the farmers. They go through.
Exactly.
It can be made more durable and robust if the right heads put together and spend the money.
I could imagine if you was like on a water main break or something in the middle, because it wouldn't move. It would sit there and run, but it would not move.
Okay, well, that was my question as far as that with the large amount.
So that was the payment listing. Our revenue summary is revenue year-to-date, $657,731.91. That is the reflection of our tax settlement. First half was received, and it was $43,406.31 higher than what we received last year at this time. Our expenditures to date are $250,981.70. And then also in your packet is the credit card purchases for February for approval.
What is Sedgwick's claim?
Sedgwick is what our workers' comp group rate.
Oh, that's workers' comp.
Yep.
Okay. Go on, Joe. Well, what's your pleasure, Neil? You want to do the credit cards first, or you want to do the
Usually the credit card, or I mean the financials goes first,
the
then the credit
financials?
card.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills then with reservations and accept the financial reports.
And that includes any expenditure for ARPA funds as listed in item A on the agenda for the motion.
There you go.
Okay, and I'll second that, but I do have one more question,
Okay.
Chris. Is you still anticipate, now that we had the first half property tax come in, that our revenue for the general fund will still be just under $600,000?
Yes.
Because I'm just looking at the rates, knowing that the two biggest components of that are the local government fund and the property taxes. I'm just wondering if we're going to hit that level. Because here we are, 3 months in with the first half property tax receipt, we're at 126,000. You know, when you figure the others there are monthly receipts, so if you divide that by 3, that gives you what the monthly rates are, and you extrapolate that out for 12 months, it seems like we're going to come up short versus the estimate. It's just something we can look at
Yep.
later, but just to point that out, it's just...
It's always, yeah, just a dab in the dark.
Right, and I know with the property taxes that a good portion of that, particularly the inside millage, you know, it all gets allocated to specific funds. There's only that one portion coming to the general fund, but it just looks like we'll end up light there. So we're just going to have to watch that. Okay, that was my only question there on the financials. So you can take roll call then?
Uri?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Now we have the credit card.
What's the number on that?
That is 37.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
There's only the 3 credit card expenditures, all
Yes,
with
for
receipts.
February.
Okay, turned in. Just all the items that were required by statute to show number of credit cards, who has them, when they expire, everything shown on the report. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that the credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed for policy, and the card statement is accepted as presented, subject to investigation.
I'll second.
Lynch?
Yes,
Uri?
Yes.
that's 3-8.
That's 3-8.
I'm glad we didn't miss any recipes.
We didn't what?
We didn't miss any recipes.
Oh, spelling?
Oh, yeah. Been like that for 4 years.
Is there anything else on the financials there, Chris?
No.
We come every so often.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone in attendance. If anyone has anything to bring before the board, please raise your hand. Okay, Chief Wilhelm?
This has to do with the Sandstone Ambulance District. You know, Denny's in charge of it, basically. Like you said, he's in the hospital. Well, tomorrow night at the fire station at 6 p.m., we're having a meeting with Life Care. They're supposed to... Life Care is supposed to present a contract, and it's for 2023, which right now it's open. They agreed to, up to this point, just renew what's there for right now, and then they're proposing a new contract tomorrow. So I don't know if you want to come to that, or...
They're proposing to extend the existing?
They did that, and we did that in the beginning of or at the end of last year when we had the meeting. I think it was, where did I see that at? It was... we were supposed to have one on the 23rd, but the previous meeting was the end of last year, and they extended the contract to now.
Okay.
And they're supposed to come with a package tomorrow. I have no idea what they're going to ask.
Okay, so nothing's been sent out ahead of time.
No. No. Actually, we were supposed to meet last Wednesday, and we had to go to a Chiefs meeting, and we called and canceled it with Life Care, and they said good because they hadn't had anything ready. So, but they've had a week to prepare stuff, so I don't know what they're going to bring, but
Wait, that's at 6.
yeah, at the fire station there in Amherst.
Figure an hour on that, Jim?
Pardon me?
Figure an hour for the
Yeah,
duration?
probably an hour. So,
I'm available, so I'll be there.
okay.
David, if you're available, by all means. At 6 o'clock, the Amherst Fire Department regards the contract from Life Care for the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District, the Amherst Fire Department.
Is it 7 too?
With what?
Is it at 7 or 6?
6.
It's at 7.
Okay, anyone else?
We had a fire in the township last weekend, Friday night. It was a pole barn. It pretty much burned up. I think, did Chris take you out there and look at it?
I'm gonna, well, actually, Chris and I are gonna meet with them tomorrow morning, the owners, and go over some things they need to clean up as far as fire safety and also some zoning issues. The owner did call me, and we're both gonna go out and meet him tomorrow morning. Point some
Good.
things out to him.
You got Chris there with you?
Yep.
That'll be a
Oh,
good
yeah.
team.
He's bigger than me, so I figured I'd bring him with.
All right.
If that's the old Dickinson Motorcycle Shop there on 113,
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
behind it. So.
Yeah. Anything else, Jim?
No, that's it.
Okay. And David, just so you're aware of, is Chief Wilhelm did send me a correspondence. He forwarded a correspondence from the Wellington Fire Chief Weatherby. This in regards to the Harris communication radios versus Mark systems versus any other system that several communities have been lobbying for the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners to pay for. They were asking for, and they had some attachments there of proposed resolutions that they'd like the township to pass, but I didn't forward that on to you. I think, Jim, you might have sent that yesterday or day before.
Yeah.
And, I just didn't think that's something that we should be taking a position on one way or the other here. One, because we don't have enough information, and I think ultimately it's going to play out, and hopefully the best solution is done for all the communities here so that they can communicate among themselves in the best method possible. But, not having the information, I don't see how in this on short notice we can make that
Yeah,
type of decision.
yeah. I understand totally.
I just wanted Dave to be aware because I hadn't forwarded that
Yeah.
communication on, Jim.
They were looking for support, that's all.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was the first one in the county to buy those radios, and I did an in-depth research on them. The Harris people never advertised anything because they had these large government contracts. And my whole thing is, if in 1969 a Harris radio system could talk from the moon to this planet, it's got to be a pretty good system. And that's what we're dealing with versus the Marks radio. I had a Marks salesman come in, not a Marks salesman, a Motorola salesman come in. And when we were looking at these Harris radios, and I said, just tell me what this radio will do. I said, I don't want to hear about the Mark system. I want to hear what the Motorola radio will do. It didn't compare to the Harris radio at all. We have mutual aid with Vermilion. We probably run more mutual aid in Vermilion than any other ones around us. We could never talk to Vermilion because we were in different zones. We're in a VHF, they're in UHF. Well, these Harris radios now, all in the same zone, I can have VHF, UHF, 700, 800, just by the flick of a little button. And the head of it tells you what channel you're on. You don't even have to look.
And Vermilion is now on the Harris system?
They are on the Harris system, yeah.
And you guys all went out and applied for grant money and received
Yes.
grant money,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And is there any reason the other communities that want the Harris radio can't do the same thing that
They
you
are
and
doing
Vermilion
it.
did?
Basically, almost everybody, I think the exception was Grafton Township. But everybody else put in for grants for radios. The county was the one that said they would buy the radios, but they have to buy them for the sheriff's
Can
department.
the county apply for that same grant, or
No.
is it restrict? So it's just restricted to fire departments to
Well-
apply for grants, right? Through FEMA?
Through the FEMA, you can do what Life Care did with Vermilion. They kind of ponied up with them and got put on the grant. but Vermillion was the one that accepted them and put them on the grant. And then the grant people in, where the fire academy's at down there in Maryland, they accepted that, so.
Well, that's good, they were able to do that.
Well, I
know
wanted
that-
to ask the question too, would you guys be able to, because you're an entity that we service,
That's a question, if we could, we
if
would.
you could get
but,
on that grant too?
I would ask you to look at it, because here's what I can tell you from the past. When we purchased the original tanker,
Mm-hmm.
is I had inquired about that directly, and
Yeah.
they said, no, you actually had to own and operate your own fire department. I said, well, we're actually in a district, and at that time, we had two between South Amherst
Right.
and the city of
Right,
Amherst.
now you have one.
And we weren't eligible. Now, I can't tell you that's still the case
Well, I could call
today.
my grant writer and
If you
ask.
can find out,
Yeah.
um,
Well, you-
because
I
if
mean-
nothing else, we can do that, which since would help, if it helps Amherst Fire Department, but it
Yes.
also might help the village of South Amherst, because as you're aware, the northern part of the village of South Amherst is still part of Amherst Township.
Yes.
It's just like when, Kevin, you recall when we went for the road sign grants, is we contacted the village, since we were eligible for a safety grant, and we said, it's up to you guys, we will apply on your behalf, but we want you to tell us exactly which signs you need, how many you need, and when they come in, you gotta get all that inventory out of here, we're not gonna store it, and you have to install it within 1 year's time. And they agreed to that, which saved them a ton of money.
Right.
So if there's a way we can do it, by all means, we
Yeah.
would, and partnering like that.
I'm glad you asked, that you mentioned signs. Is there a way that we can put a sign on Route 58 where the Amherst Township ends and New Russia starts? There used, I recall, I think there used to be one there.
Yeah. On 58, I don't think we have any authority, that would have to be ODOT. We could certainly contact them.
Yeah. Be nice to know where that cutoff point is.
You used to have a sign down there. And I don't know what happened to it.
Well, again, that's something that gets very specific, as Linda and Kevin know, we have to maintain a sign inventory and replace, they get hit, they get knocked over, and you know how it is, people
Oh, yeah.
leave and
Oh, hell
you
yeah.
don't realize it, so we've got to keep those replaced, particularly the ones that are for safety, to notify the motoring public. But on ODOT, on 58, that's a state route, so that's pretty much going to be ODOT. And the brick wall we ran into with the traffic signals
Oh, yeah.
issue with them. They were helpful, but they've already decided, just similar to your radios, they've decided which transponders they're going to use for safety vehicles, and they do not like the ones that are activated by the sound of your sirens versus flip a button, but pay, I think, was like $2,000 or $3,000 a
Yep.
unit that you have to put in every single vehicle.
Right.
And I think they give us 2
That's it,
maximum.
yeah.
Well, by the time you go through the sheriff's department, highway patrol, life care, all the vehicles you have in the fire department,
Yep.
it just would have become cost prohibitive, and they wanted us to pay to put the signals in.
Yes. It's a
100%.
It's like the
And
Marks
pay the
radio.
maintenance agreement.
It's like the Marks radio system. It's a cash cow for somebody.
Yeah, so it just, at this time, it didn't work, but that doesn't mean it won't in the future. So it's, I haven't forgotten it, but it was very difficult to justify. We're hoping that the state would work with us on
Yeah.
it, but it didn't work. But in any case, if you check on the grant, if there's some way we can partner and do that, if things
Yes.
have changed, we will, but in the past.
This year's too late. They're already turned in, but there'll be another one in the fall.
That's the other thing with the grant cycles I want to get to. The communities that have applied for radios and didn't get them, as you're aware, there's a limited amount of money that they'll fund. That doesn't mean they won't get it if they keep applying. It definitely would delay it. Sometimes it's, just because you have certain funds there, it's everybody has an idea of where those funds need to be spent. I think we see that going on in many of the communities with disagreement over how to expend their own ARPA funds. And I've watched the way communities have spent funds, and, hats off to them that received them, but I can tell you, if I was in the decision-making body, I would not have authorized those funds. Now I'll get on my pet peeve when I saw ARPA funds being used for dogs, fish, cats, birds, bees, signage, advertising. I thought, what in the heck are we doing?
Right.
When it specifically said, unlike the CARES Act funds, they gave us a longer time horizon so you could use it for something, particularly infrastructure, that would benefit your community and residents in the long term versus a one-shot, one deal that's short term.
Yeah.
And you can equate that to the old, give a person a fish and you feed them for a day, but teach them how to fish and you feed them for life.
That's right.
So unfortunately, those decisions are made. The people that are elected in power get to make those, whether we agree with them or not.
Well, the only question that I asked was, how did the county prosecutor okay the first reading for those radios and stuff? And it was approved. And then a month later, they turn around and take it out of there, and the county prosecutor says nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a question for the county prosecutor, who's in
Well, that's what I told him. I said, I think we're barking at the wrong people. We maybe need to bark at him and say, what the hell is this? You approved it, and now it's not okay?
Yeah, but
Where's it wrong? Show me.
again, it's a field of play that I have no authority in.
I know, but I'm just
So,
saying.
I can stand outside the fence and yell at the umpire, but if I'm not the guy on the field with the glove or the bat or the ball,
Yeah,
all I'm doing is yelling in the wind.
right. I mean, I don't have a dog in that race because I already got the radios. So, we're gonna continue
And
to
you got
use
the
them.
grant money to use it. Hopefully the other communities do the same thing. Okay? So, I mean, if we go on, I can tell you there's a bunch of residents on Overland Road, soon to be over here, township residents on Middle Ridge, also township residents over on West Ridge, that are all getting hit with bills of $10,000 to $12,000 to connect to sanitary sewer that they didn't ask for.
Yeah.
That we turned in grant requests for the county. The county project said, why don't you pay for this when we look at what the ARPA fund says it can specifically pay for? You know how much funding they got? Zero. Zero.
Yeah.
So again, we can argue over how money is spent, but I just would encourage those other communities to continue to do what you did
Yeah,
and apply for the grant funds and get them. Sometimes you're just waiting on the next cycle.
yeah.
So it may come and you just
Well,
have to wait.
If I see money out there, I go after it.
And you should, and I appreciate that. All right, was there anything else, Jim?
That's it.
Okay, we'll move on to the sheriff, Deputy Hocking. We're not going to talk about radios.
No radios. It's outside of my jurisdiction. So in the previous 30 days, we had 173 calls for service. That includes items of note, 8 abandoned vehicles, 8 domestic violence disputes, 5 lockouts, 42 premise checks, 32 traffic stops, and 11 welfare checks, among other things. Just in case you were wondering, that's 35 less than the previous 30-day period. 35 calls for service less. But the only other thing that I have is we received today, or at least I received today, a letter from a resident on Old Middle Ridge Road. It says it was sent to the Amherst Township Board, so I don't know if you are aware of this yet.
That was one, it doesn't give a name on it.
Yeah, I don't.
But I brought it out here because it just indicated that they were concerned with parking. So it was directed to our road superintendent and other members of the Amherst Township Board. That the one you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Was just concerned with the amount of parking there.
Yeah, apparently there were a few vehicles that are parked on the street that we started looking into it. I drove by there today, and they do look like they're abandoned. I attempted to make contact with the residents at 45320 Old Middle Ridge Road. Nobody answered the door. So I'll continue to follow up with it. Again, the vehicles look like they're abandoned. The question I have for you is, do you have a township parking resolution?
It's It's usually for size of a vehicle, but if it's an abandoned vehicle and it's not registered, that, or if
It would be under the state code.
Okay.
yeah,
I
but
was just wondering if we had multiple avenues to go off of, but.
Yeah, we've got one here, Deputy Hawkins. Sam, did that other abandoned vehicle ever get taken care of? Because that was turned over to the sheriff, but, you know,
That
get
one,
pulled out.
Hidden Valley, I think it was.
yeah. So that's really the best way to go about it if they're not registered. You know, we run into parking issues in other areas. Usually they're within some of the subdivisions. And at this point in time, we have not implemented specific parking standards other than from the fire hydrants and intersections and whatnot, because you run into the argument, which side of the road do you put the parking limitations on when people are coming over, and hours of time, you know, it's, and whichever one you choose will upset somebody. We also have, as a courtesy, our road superintendent, particularly during weather events, snow and ice removal, is putting the notes on, because he knows who the habitual parkers are that don't move their vehicle when, you know, the guys are trying to get the roads maintained, and, you know, they're moving heavy vehicles around in nasty weather, and it's, you know, you can't put vehicles on both sides there and make it easy for anybody. But yeah, if there is an issue where they're not registered or abandoned, we can get rid of them. And just a suggestion for the sheriff's department, I can see where residents, assuming they're home, would be reluctant to answer the door when they see somebody in a uniform and a gun show up. But if you send an individual just prior to it, you wait down the road and drop off a box from Amazon, you'll probably find out if they're home. Especially if they have a security camera on or a Ring doorbell.
Well, the good news is we did have a unmarked plainclothes deputy go to the house first. So he didn't answer for them, and he didn't answer for me. So I'll continue to look into it.
How many vehicles are you talking about there?
There are two vehicles that are on the street that we can take care of immediately. There's another vehicle that is partially on the street, and then they do have a car that's in disrepair that's in the yard, which I don't.
Yeah, if they're inoperable.
Something in
they
the
don't
yard, I
belong
think,
there.
would be zoning.
Go ahead.
Now, if they're anywhere in the right of way, I think that would be parking.
We can at least handle possibly two, maybe the third. The fourth vehicle is parked in the yard. And I don't think that's under my purview.
Yeah. Kevin, if he's been there for a long time, I mean, you go by there every event, every weather event.
Is this on the
Old Middle Ridge, yeah, township.
That's county
portion.
road.
Oh, the township's in it.
Yeah, the township Old Middle Ridge, not the county road.
The old section. I think that's county road.
Side,
It'd be on the north side of Old Middle Ridge Road.
You know where that silo
Dead
or
end
barn was
road.
on
where the barn
fire?
burned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the county.
Okay. Well, then we've just got the zoning portion, but again, you know what you've got to do as far as if they're inoperable or not registered. And I think, don't you have a certain number of days to notify them if you can't get the resident that if they don't get it moved, you get it towed?
I'll make contact with them, and if else, we'll get them out of there.
Okay, well, thank you. Anything else for the sheriff? Okay, we'll move on to zoning. Sam?
Yes. Well, we haven't had much of a change since last time. We're at a total of 24 permits year-to-date, 11 this month. We're still at 6 new houses this month, 8 total this year, as you can all see. Any questions on that one?
The new homes is 8 year-to-date.
Yes.
Got any questions there, David?
No. Where do the homes come from?
Oh, and then
New
you look at,
construction.
yeah,
New construction.
got that?
And if somebody put up a commercial building, that could come up under that too, right?
Yes. And then also I have you'll see the sheets I gave you. I had some things I wanted to discuss tonight, starting with some of what we talked about last week, zoning issues as far as new permits, carports, site plan review, all that stuff. Do we want to just get into that, or is that like a work session? Do we actually come up with fees? New business registration?
Have you reviewed this, David? Sam had sent you an email on this. I'd already met with him and Linda on this previous. Sam, while David's looking at that, if you can, on any of these items, if you talk with some of the other zoning inspectors, many of them have their resolutions online, but it might help to talk with them first. I know you would have missed, several of them were here at the last Lorraine County Township Association meeting, but see what type of regulations they have in place for these items, because we do have to go through an amendment of our township zoning resolution for the BZA, and we've already tasked people with many of them are just corrections or changes, to get those all collected, so we just have to do it once, because it's expensive to change that, and there's obviously some fees at the county we have to expend, in addition to holding the public hearings and advertising for it. So if you get those regulations, we'll have something to work from.
What if they don't have any of these regulations?
Well, then it's going to be probably more concerning if they don't have any, is why they don't, and why are we asking for them?
Okay, I'll talk to some of them. Then can we discuss the second page tonight?
Building department,
Yes.
that has come up before, Sam, I don't know if you
Well, let me-
recall. Having a building department for residential or a building code for residential, that has come up before.
Well, hear me out for a minute, if you would. My other job, I'm a home inspector. I do a lot of contractor oversight, where I watch people having a house built, I watch the process, do several inspections. Elyria, North Ridgeville, even Amherst. And these are houses that are inspected by city inspectors, and I find things that you wouldn't believe. So now we've got hundreds of houses coming into the township that are going to be built that don't even get inspected. There's no code enforcement. I don't think we're looking out for our future residents. And then if I go to the other side, our existing residents, over the past 2 years, before I started at the township, I've actually had people call me up and ask me to come look. I've looked at 2 decks, a roof, an addition, a couple fences. Come look at what a contractor supposedly did. Talked about a safety issue. It was ridiculous. So I don't think we're looking out for our residents. We have no contractor registration. We don't. A lot of these people, several of these people, were told by the contractor that they were going to pull a permit. I don't know. I wasn't here. Maybe they did, a zoning permit, but they were under the assumption that it actually got inspected and looked at. Well, some of the decks that you wouldn't believe. I mean, one fence just fell over. They had their posts 18 inches in the ground. I mean, I don't think we're doing our residents any favors. We're not looking out for them. So that's why I think we can do it. We can do it in-house. I've talked to Tom Horstman. He can help out. I can do the bulk of it, and John Dietrich can do the electrical. We can do it in-house and fairly inexpensive. So I wish the trustees would consider it, because I think it should be done. It's just not right to let all these houses being built and not even looked at. It's just...
How have housing construction recently been? How has it been? How has recent housing construction been that you're aware of? Have you had any complaints come in, particularly like, say, Hampshire Court or some of the subdivisions?
I don't know that I should name names, but
No, well, don't.
there's a few out there that really aren't doing a good job, especially a couple in Elyria, a couple builders. And David, what happens is they overwhelm their project managers with so many houses to watch, and they're usually younger kids. It's just too much to watch. And these are, and yet, like I said, these are houses that are being inspected by city inspectors and things are missed. Like upside down footer tiles, things you wouldn't know for probably 10 years or 5 years, you know? Things, I find it all the time. And we're gonna have hundreds of houses built with nobody looking, nobody watching. I talked to the prosecutor, we have every right to start our own building department, and regardless of what any other township thinks. So we're okay there. I think we can do it. I think we should do it. I know the fire inspector might have something to add to that, maybe even Linda, but,
I can tell you this, the talk out there is move to the township. It's the Wild West out there. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. Nobody even watches. That's the reputation you got.
Amongst
as
what?
far as
Are we
building.
talking builders?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, anybody with a pickup truck and a saw is a contractor, you know? I mean, it's just not a good idea.
I don't know how far we go as far as registering contractors. I know to adopt a code, you have to file a code. Whether it's requiring the contractors to register, I don't know. On that, Neil, I've come across that. I know you could.
From what I read in the BBS, we have to have a building department to require contractor registration. I read, it's 112 pages, I read through the whole thing, the Board of Building Standards, which is through the state. We have to have a building department to require that.
Another thing, we can't make our own code. We have to adopt
Yep.
somebody else's, like the
Yep.
Ohio,
State of Ohio, I'm already.
the
I've
Ohio
got-
State Code, or
Yep.
like, say, join with Amherst.
Well, the BBS,
Do their-
the BBS
Take their
dictates
code, but we
everything.
can't have our own.
No, the
We can't
BBS.
say we want our footer tiles this steep or this wide. We can't do that, but we can take another code and have it
There's a
enforced
state
here.
code that
There's a state
everybody,
code.
Yes.
the state of Ohio building code as far as residential and commercial building. So a lot of, I mean, I've been a contractor for 35 years, and a lot of times, people that can't get registered or insured or bonded in the city, they go out to the township to work because there's nothing required. So the new house building, I guess, is only part of it, but then you have decks, you have fences, you have swimming pools. So the original builder might do your house, but then you have another contractor come in after the fact and do, you know, other items on your house. They may come in and finish your basement, put up fences, put up decks, and without any inspection, it usually ends up, you know, you have to file a lawsuit against the contractor. I get subpoenaed 4 or 5 times a year to go look at what contractors do, you know, things that are missed and things that aren't done the right way, and then you end up in court, ends up in litigation, and it could be easily rectified if there was a building department that followed that project from start to finish. And as far as contractor registration go, I believe the cities require that, because that way you're bonded, and in 5 years down the road, if your house falls down, you can lay claim on that bond and recoup some of your
Well-
funds that you lose.
I think some of it too is, then again, there are people that are used to being in the township and not having to call for an inspector every time they do something. If they want to change their hot water tank, if their hot water tank goes out and they get a new one, they just get a new one and have it put in, or put it in themselves. Same thing with the door, replace the door, you replace the door yourself. Or a lot of do-it-yourselfers, you just have somebody replace the door. They don't think twice you need an inspection, but technically those things need an inspection.
To replace a door and a window, you
And
don't.
you're gonna start running into, to push back the other way, when people go to do something, and then someone shows up and says, you should have had it inspected. And, you know, what do you mean, I gotta pay almost as much as this door's worth to have an inspector come out and tell me I did it right.
Well, doors and windows don't even fall under that. There's no state codes for that. It's more larger items and safety items, you know.
Some items, well, like a hot water tank, something.
I don't even think that
Most
falls
people,
under the BBS
once
code.
again, if people are conscientious and they realize they're
Well,
doing something, they're gonna look into the builder, they're gonna look into the contractor. But then again, there's people out there and, that don't. Hey, I'll do it for you for this amount. Okay, they come over and next thing you know, they got a deck built on popsicle sticks, you know. Look at that, they probably do, you know, it's.
But I think what Sam's trying to say is, look out for the citizens in your township that are building and investing in your township. If they're gonna build, you know, they're gonna have somebody come in and do something, it's, you know, obviously inspected and checked and built to meet the minimum code requirement, which is what the state of Ohio has for their guidelines. That's what everyone follows, and I think that's what.
Well, that's the
Sam is
essence
trying
of a
to-
building code, Chris. That's the essence of the building code. I mean, we've looked at the building code. Didn't we have it for a while and then we suspended it?
The Amherst Township's in the state of Ohio, so you follow the
And,
building code.
What,
No, Chris, we're under the commercial and industrial code and the multifamily code. For 1,
Residential.
2, and 3 unit residences, we're not under the code. Okay? We're not under a building code. 1, 2, and 3,
Now we're.
now we're not.
just under
What we're
commercial.
talking about is
Because we don't have
extending
a
that
buil-
to 1, 2, and 3 family residences. Single family duplex and triplexes.
Right.
Well, there's a procedure you gotta go
The
through.
problem is, I know where you're going, I can tell that. Problem is, you just paid $1 million for a fire truck. Somewhere along the line, you gotta recuperate some of your money. What better way than to start in a program like that?
Well, the building, Jim, a building code is supposed to finance itself. It's not to make money, it's to
Right.
cover its costs.
And building and zoning go together, so instead of a zoning permit, which all these people are coming in, you have a building which is also falls in zoning. It's all in the same permit. So we're really not charging any different.
Pam, we're not going to get a decision here this evening with only 2 trustees. Let me first answer, David did ask a question if we were under a building code in the past. The answer is yes.
That was the county, right?
It was with the county, and then it went away for a couple of reasons. One, when building activity slowed to the point where they couldn't justify the expense because, you're paying people and yet there's no revenue coming in. The second item was the Ohio Basic Building Code changed. At that time, they gave you the flexibility that it was for new construction and any increase in the footprint of the living quarters. So what it did was it exempted accessory buildings, fences, pools, swimming pools and whatnot. And the thought process, and several townships, Amherst Township included, agreed to be part of that, is that, okay, the area that really involves safety for the persons, their domicile, that was taken care of. But all the window dressing around the end, around that home, that wasn't the high dollar items, easily replaced, or the deficiency readily apparent for anybody with minimum amount of knowledge and experience. Obviously, there's some people wouldn't know. That could be corrected. But when the building code changed and said, no, it's either all or nothing, you couldn't pick which portion, that's where it fell apart. And as I shared with you when we had a meeting, is this probably would be a long process because I went through over a year of meetings with several townships when the county was talking about resurrecting it again. And the more rural townships were adamantly opposed to it. The larger townships showed some interest, particularly in Eaton, Columbia, Carlisle. Carlisle used to have their own building department, which was then disbanded when the county created one. Another wrinkle in the statute, if the county puts in a building department, the townships must cease and desist. So that left some hard feelings with people. But after we went through this long process, bid the thing out, and it came time to decision-making, brought all the information to this board, and both of my fellow trustees, which are still the same trustees, said no. As I told you before, I'm not real excited to jump into something that I know is a lot of work.
I think you're overcomplicating it. To bid it out, yes, it's going to be expensive.
It takes, how do we approve anything here with a 3-member board? How many votes do we need?
3. Yeah, I get it.
You need 2 out of 3.
Right.
We've only got 2 sitting up here right now. I think it's clear right now, 1 is opposed.
Okay.
1's not here today. You need to find out. But what I am going to suggest to you, because everything comes down to numbers also, in addition to the succession management, because we went through this with our commercial code, is, and I think we discussed this when we met a few weeks ago, is put together a plan on the financials also, how this would work, and then also how do we have the continuity, because several of the individuals you're talking about here are at a position in their career where they probably don't have a whole lot of years left that they'll be doing this type of work. So what's the succession to know that there's continuity here without an immediate disruption where, well, we're sorry, we say we have a building code, but we don't have anybody to come out and check right now.
Yeah, we discussed
The
that.
other portion, which is still, I keep open here on the agenda, so you should be aware of this, and I think I shared with you, we had talked with the city of Amherst as far as partnering with them, and that started getting traction, but I think, it's probably for Amherst, it's not as big of an issue, and they were concerned, what's that mean in terms of demands on their resources. Their chief building inspector seemed very positive on it, but it just kind of fell by the wayside where we were looking at, can we use that building department? The expectation being that a larger community would have a sustainable department more so than a smaller township. So just keep that in mind. That's always an option, to accomplish the thing of assuring that there is safety in the home construction, because that's what it all comes down to,
Yeah.
is the safety for the individuals. We're not talking necessarily the quality of construction, because you can meet minimum building standards, and yet anyone walking into that structure would not consider it a quality construction, but it would meet the standards. So it's, I don't want to discourage you from this, but you're going to need that information. I know it's more work, but like I said, I'm not jumping in all excited because I've been down this road and spent an awful lot of time on it, only to have it, nope, we're not doing it. And I'm thinking the next time somebody asks for it, they can go ahead and do all the work.
Well, I've already done a lot of work, but I think I'll wait until we can see if you guys are even interested. I mean, if I don't,
So that's the other
what's the
thing,
point?
talk with Denny,
Yeah,
because you'll get a better feel for it.
yeah.
But you're going to have to be involved in the work here, but it even goes back when Jerry Ennis worked in the prosecutor's office when we had met with the city of Amherst to look at partnering with them as far as having this, because we definitely see where there are advantages. There's pros and cons in this. And you're definitely going to cause, some people will be happy to know this, some residents, but you're going to have some others very upset. And realize this doesn't guarantee that things are done correctly.
Mhm.
It might guarantee that people just do things and don't say anything and try and keep it on the QT.
Yeah, well, that's and another good, now that you bring that up, another reason to even have it. We have a house that was built, I gave them the permit, they write down their setbacks. I don't go out till the house is built to even look and see if they honored their setbacks. If it were being inspected, it would have been caught when the foundation was in. Well, we have a house that's not within the setbacks, it's only 3 feet, but we have a new house now that's done on Oak Knoll that's 3 feet off. Had there been an inspection in the footer, the setbacks would have been measured by me. So things, try to, get rid of things like that.
An inspection of the footer would have still been after the fact.
They wouldn't
What's
have a
a
whole
typical
house up, is my
resolution?
point.
We could ask them to stake it out, say, this is, stake out your, and they,
We're
a
gonna
lot
start
of times we
requiring
go
it?
by their word too, they may be wrong.
Well, we
You
do.
say, okay, you gotta be 10 feet off the property line. Well, where's the property line? They'll tell you where the property line is. What if they're wrong? What if the property line isn't there? What if they're actually 7.5 feet instead of 10? Because they miscalculated, they went by the rock instead of the tree and
Are we gonna
where it was
require
supposed to
that?
be, and it's like that.
Are we gonna start requiring that, though? I mean,
But can I ask the question I asked originally and didn't get an answer to? Talked about, had it been inspected when the footer was poured, because those inspections happened during the progression of the build, not after the fact. What would be the typical resolution? You walk out,
Well, the
the
footer
footer's
wouldn't have
done
been poured.
wrong, the basement's poured, what do you do?
the footer wouldn't have been poured because we would check all the depths before it's even poured, and we'd check all the storm drain before it's even backfilled. We would have caught it in time. I mean, do we want to make a big stink
And
of
would
3
have had them redig it then,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, but now you have a whole house, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
That's all. That's just another reason, is all I'm just pointing out. They're just,
I'm not saying no, I'm just
I
letting you
understand.
know, I've been down this road before.
Another thing to
You need 2 out of
consider.
3. So, we're not going to belabor this. You need to talk with the third trustee,
Okay.
and you're going to have to put together an overall plan, just like it's a business plan, and not just for the immediate implementation, but also how it's sustainable in the long term. Start playing the what ifs. Okay, this individual says they're going to do all electrical. When that individual's gone, how do I replace them and how quickly? Where are you pulling from those skill sets to get this done? Because I'm sure you're aware, you've got some communities now, or even using a firm that's not even in the state of Ohio. Because even the larger cities, particularly the older cities where they're not having newer construction put in, they've come up with the same thing. They cannot financially sustain their own building department. So, just looking at all those options, and it helps with you having that experience, and the network of individuals to put together a good plan. So, this might be a good thing, but ultimately, you're still going to need 2 out of 3 votes to implement it. So if you find out, if you've got 2 completely opposed,
Yeah.
don't beat your head against
I'm
the
not.
wall. But I'm not beating mine against the wall again.
No, I'm fine, yeah. I brought it up. If it happens,
Okay.
it happens. Yeah.
My thoughts are kind of similar to Neil's in a way, but maybe a little bit different. As Neil said, it's a complicated process, and it is a process, and you have to go through with it. It's not just pass a resolution. You've got to
Well, yeah.
decide who's going to do it, who's going to enforce it, which code are you going to use, and then you got to line up your people, who you're going to hire. And then you got people now, but what happens when those people go? And nothing can mess up a situation, any work, than having a good crew, and then suddenly half your crew's gone. You got new people there that aren't as conscientious, that don't really care, and all your hopes and all your team and all your camaraderie of getting things done is out the window. So, it's complicated. And you are going to have pushback. You are going to have pushback from people. They're going to say, we moved to the township to get away from these regulations, and they'll throw things in your face like, I just had this much work done, and, I got to spend how much to have it inspected, and then start saying, well, you're putting in, $10,000 addition, you need to pay $1,000 in inspection fees or $100, and then that percentage adds up, and you've just increased the cost for somebody who's trying to get something done, and money's money, and it's
Yeah, I don't
going to increase the cost for somebody.
The cost will increase that much.
You're going to get that. And another thing is going back and forth. We thought about it. We joined with the county. That kind of fizzled out. It got dropped, so we're back to where we were before. Now, maybe we'll go to one. Maybe we won't. If you jump in, you got to jump in. You got to be in it, and you got to stay in it. And it's kind of 50-50 now, Sam. Like I said, you've got people, they're used to it. They're used to not having a building code. When they want to do something, they can do it, and they get a contractor in there, and they don't have to worry about calling somebody to come over and inspect it. They don't have to worry about stopping everything until an inspector can get there. They don't have to worry about that. They're used to that, and they're conscientious. They'll get a good contractor. And as you know, I would think there are contractors. It doesn't matter where they build; they're going to build it correctly. They're not going to put a footer tile in upside down. They put footer tiles in the way footer tiles are supposed to be. They really don't need an inspector because they want things
Then you have
done.
contractors that are on the other side too, so.
All right. I
But
think
the
we-
question is, where is it? Where's the balance? It's a bell-shaped curve. Where's the bell at?
I think we've discussed this enough, so Sam can have discussion.
I have one more item I want to say, Neil, and that is, it may very well come down to it, Sam. Are we there yet? I don't think quite yet,
We're growing fast.
but it could come down to it. It could come down to it.
We're going to have 700 homes built here soon.
We're growing fast. Yeah, it's coming
All
fast.
right, well, Sam, you know what you got to do, right?
Yep,
Okay.
I have most of the answers already. So.
All right, we got another item here for Sam. I'm just going to get this started to get it on the floor, is that the Sam had requested at the last meeting, and I know, David, he sent an email out to the trustees, in addition to the chairs of the BZA and the Zoning Commission, and also at the Lorraine County Auditor's Office in regards to a change in the zoning inspector's office hours. As Sam's indicated, he currently has Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday from 8 to 11 a.m. are the hours assigned for the zoning inspector at the township, and a good portion of Saturday. It seems like the activity is not as high as it is during the week, and so he's proposing to change the time to 8 to 11 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then because of the way technology is, and then the fact we have a drop box outside the township hall here, is he can meet residents or builders and contractors and developers by appointment, even if it's going to their house or meeting here at the township to take care of things, which would be a more effective use of his time. So to bring this to the floor, I'm going to make the motion that the zoning inspector's office hours shall be 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and Saturdays and weekday afternoon availability by appointment only. This change shall be effective March 28, 2023. Section 2, Mr. D'Ambrosio shall create and post appropriate signage reflecting the new zoning inspector hours and contact information for making appointments outside of regular hours of operation, and work with the township administrator to ensure implementation of any policy, website, newsletter changes necessary to communicate the new zoning inspector office hours. This resolution shall supersede any other resolution regarding the hours of operations for the zoning inspector. The rest is boilerplate, so that'll be my motion.
I'll second it to get it on the floor.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, just for clarification, should we maybe make that 2 sentences down there in section 1? Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, period, and then put Saturday, weekend afternoons shall be available by appointment only? Would that make more sense? Instead of availability, but make it shall be available by appointment.
Linda kind of had a good way to word it. She just put, how did you put it?
I know when I read it, I get confused.
I said appointments are recommended.
Yeah.
Even during Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because Stan's out inspecting a lot of times. People come in and have to wait. If he calls off sick, he can come in. I tell everybody to call. Call before you come in, or call and make an appointment to make sure somebody's going to be here.
Yeah, a lot of them email, but I can do, depending on my schedule, it'll be an afternoon. I mean, it doesn't have to work for Saturdays as much.
No, the only problem I have with this is, just when you read it through, and Fridays and Saturdays, okay, where does the 8 to 11 stop and the appointment only begin? See what I'm saying? So how could we make that where it's a little clearer? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I can't answer that.
How can we do it? You're good with English. How can we word that? See what I'm saying? I'm just trying to break them apart, so it's clear. To me, it's clear.
I think it's clear.
You think it's clear?
I think it's clear, but
No, pretty.
I mean, really, they're going to call and email anyway. I can talk to them on the phone or email them. I don't know how clear it needs to be on
We'll
the-
make sure that we make it clear on the website and the Facebook page.
And I'll change the resolution and send you a new electronic version, Chris, for your records, but it'll just be it'll be the zoning inspector office hours shall be 8 to 11 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays.
you can
Period.
say with Saturdays and weekday.
Yeah, and then it'll be Saturdays and weekday afternoon availability
Yep,
shall be by appointment only.
good. Just take out the
Okay.
and.
There it is. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I like that. Does that make it clear?
And I'll get you a new electronic copy. I'll send it out to everyone, but at least so you have it for your records.
Okay.
And then Sam, I wasn't sure the number, they'll just call into the township number, and will you have that forwarded then to your cell phone? Or how did you plan on doing that? Or are you gonna have to just check in on messages?
I'm just gonna have to check in. I don't wanna give out my cell phone.
Okay.
Gosh, my phone will be ringing off the hook. It rings enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just check in.
okay.
It's
We
no
can
big-
always call in and check voicemail.
Right.
From home
right.
too,
It's
so
just-
we can,
Yeah, I just want to know how we wanted to do that, because the option is also to forward it, then he knows it's not a scam call, it'd be a forward from the township phone. But as long as you can decide, but you understand we'll have to put a posting out here.
Yeah.
You know, the newsletter's got to be updated, the website has to be updated. So just look at anything that requires a change here to get that implemented. Okay. I did have your other part, but it was the original one for discussion here, but I'm just going to put that aside. I was more going to ask that, for David, and expecting Denny would have been here, if they got back to you at all, because you and I have discussed things in detail. Okay. All right, was there anything else on zoning there, Sam?
No,
Okay, I think there is a BZA hearing coming up, isn't there?
the 6th.
The 6th?
It's an easy one. It's Popovich. They have an auto repair garage down in front of the old flea market. They've got a second building a little further west on the other side on 113. They're going to be operating both, so they're going to get going to ask for a conditional use for the second building, which is basically the same as what they have on the first one. Pretty easy, I think.
All right, thank you.
We have roll call.
Yep, go ahead.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Okay, Fire Prevention Officer Chris Neidhart.
Month of April, no open burning in the state of Ohio per the Ohio Department of Natural Resources from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. No open burning, and if you have a food truck, please go to the township's website to register for the year, and we can make arrangements to get your inspection taken care of.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Chris.
no open burning.
What's that?
What, you just said no
Repeat
open
the no
burning?
open.
No open burning in the state of Ohio for the month of April, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and that is posted through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources.
And I think you're aware Georgianne put the article in the newsletter on the food trucks for you.
Yep.
Let me know when you're ready, Chris.
I am.
Okay, roads, parks, and cemeteries, Superintendent Marsh.
There was a request on Balsam that came over the email of the township. That was taken care of today.
That was for the potholes.
Correct. Yeah, that was taken care of today. There was a tree that came down on Saturday that crossed Dewey Road. We got that taken care of and ended up finishing cleaning that up today. We've been on pretty much full-time on potholes. Ditch cleaning, the dumpsters are ordered for the dumpster days here in 3 weeks. And our salt contract was fulfilled for the 22-23 season. We received that today, so that's all finalized, and we were right there on the money with the 400 ton. I don't have the exact number, but it came up to 390 some ton.
Okay, good. Is there any questions for Kevin? Okay, well, you heard Kevin mention the ODOT winter salt contract, David, and what he had to do because we had Tina Collins from ODOT, that was one of the items to make sure we fulfill the contract for the 2022-2023 season, and Kevin's taken care of that, but the new contract is out, and if we want to participate, they require everything back by May 1st. This is all online. So you have in your packet a resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT winter salt contract, number 018-24. It will be awarded in 2023 as authorized by Ohio Revised Code Section 5513.01 Division B. I'm not going to read through this, it's all explained here in a prepared resolution. They do not have a date yet as to when those bid openings will be for the salt, so we don't know what the actual cost will be, but we do know that entering into this cooperative agreement and the bidding, that we'll get a much better price than if we go on our own. And Kevin has requested the 400 tons for this period of time.
How much space do we have in our salt shed now?
There's room for 400.
We'll go 400?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I made this motion.
I will second.
Good. Lynch?
Yes.
Gehrig?
Yes.
It is 3:10. 23.
Okay, and also in this section on the, or under parks, is I met with Linda and Kevin in the past. They brought up about they've analyzed the cost and the operations for the parks in terms of reservations for the pavilion. And I know, David, Linda sent information out requesting information.
Yes.
She's provided, which you've got a copy here, spreadsheet for cost comparisons and also the activity that was seen within 2022 in terms of how many reservations we've actually received for the parks, pavilions. You've got in here some various policies, rules, and regulations for communities of varying sizes. Some of them also right here in Lorraine County for comparison purposes and benchmarking. The proposal is that the park pavilions rentals there be a rental fee. Right now we do everything at no charge, but we still request that if people want to be assured that they have access to that pavilion on a given date, that they must make a reservation. Otherwise, it's always on a first come, first serve. And you do not have, any right over anybody else in the use of those pavilions. I don't know if our activity will be as high in the future as it was during the COVID time, but you can see in 2022 there were 38 reservations. If you really consider, those always come in the nice weather dates. You're pretty much every weekend you're going to be reserved. I imagine you get some of them during the week, but most of them are weekend type events. But you've got a prepared resolution. I'm just going to make this resolution to get it on the floor. This is the establishment of an Amherst Township Middle Ridge Road Park Pavilion lease agreement and rental rates. And so the resolution is that the Amherst Township Board of Trustees approve the establishment of lease and rental fees for the Amherst Township Middle Ridge Road Park Pavilion as follows. Pavilion 1, that's the smaller pavilion, would be $50. Pavilion 2, which is a 28 by 40 foot, also $50. They're both outfitted with the picnic tables. It shows 6. I think we're short on 1. I don't know if we had that one damaged. That only has 5 remaining in it, but it has room for 6. Section 2, the township administrator and road superintendent shall develop park pavilion rental use rules and policies. Section 3, if a pavilion is not reserved, it shall be available at no charge on a first-come, first-served basis. Section 4, this resolution shall be effective for park pavilion requests received on or after July 5th, 2023, and the rest is all boilerplate. So that'll be my motion, just to bring this up for discussion.
I will second.
Okay, we're open for discussion, David.
There are costs involved with the pavilion, and other entities charge for reserving a pavilion. The fee that we are proposing is reasonable and in line with other communities. And I think that Linda did a lot of work on this.
Good.
My hat's off to her. Thank you, Linda. And we try fee for that. And I think we used to run out the hall. We stopped doing that, but even that, there was, I believe, a fee.
That one had a fee, but
You
yeah,
know,
we
so
had to
as far
stop it
as-
because of the people coming in for the fee. It was nice that we had it, but-
Liability and
Right.
then security, I think.
Yeah, we had
But
too many
I
of the
wanted to-
computers
You know,
available.
as far as renting out township property and stuff, it's not new, so. All right,
Okay, well,
so it's made and seconded.
okay, there was
seconded.
one other question that Linda had, and this was for and Kevin, and these are for Sundays and holidays, particularly the holidays that are usually on Mondays, is, as it is right now, when there's a rental, the road crew goes down there, let's say the rental's on Saturday, they make sure on Friday, all the waste bins are empty. Because when these rentals happen, usually people are bringing food and, gifts or something else, and it fills up the trash barrels. The question was, well, what happens when you have the back-to-back Saturday and Sunday? These guys are forced to come in on Saturday then to do that. How do we want to address that? And because we really can't be expecting these guys to come in and do that extra work. Now you're at time and a half, and the estimates already, depending upon which individual gets the joy of coming in and doing that work, obviously there are different rates, is that probably the most nominal one, if you're on a time and a half, it's $156 in township cost to do that. Not an insignificant amount, or a huge amount.
But that would be if you had 2 rentals in a row, or 2 days in a row.
2 days
Saturday
in
in
a
a
row,
And
or,
Sunday,
right, and the issue is probably more that you're asking an employee to stop what they're doing.
Come in and work overtime.
Come in and work overtime, and though, geez, time and a half is nice, you're disrupting my whole day to come down for an hour's worth of work.
To go clean up the,
So it's,
how often does that happen, Linda?
A lot.
A lot?
We have a lot of Saturday and Sunday rentals, yes.
so I guess, Kevin, this is something I suppose we can discuss, don't necessarily need a resolution. It could involve some additional expenditure. I wasn't sure if we had looked at changing Schedule E for the next solid waste and recycling consortium bid of putting a larger container that could be operated with the automatic trucks to try and get around this and also save some money with you guys having to go down there all the time. But we just saw we're going to lose parking, then you're concerned with people coming down and dumping their trash versus paying to have it all the way. So we backed off from that, but I just wonder if, based on your experience, after one of those reservations, let's say the typical size, I know it varies on number of people, if we just doubled the number of containers down there, would that alleviate the situation?
No, we won't do that. No, we don't want to do that. It'll just get taken care of. Don't worry about it. It's all going to be the same as it's been, just flow nice and free. It's all good to go.
Okay.
David, to answer your question, last year we had 30, it looks like 38 rentals, and 25 of those were on Saturday and Sunday, and 13 of them were Sundays.
We get a lot on Sunday.
So we do get a lot on Sunday. We didn't have many, I think we only had one on a holiday last year. They usually do a Saturday or Sunday.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call, Chris?
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
And the number is
311.
And Linda, I know I didn't discuss the time, but I wanted to give time so you could decide what the actual rules and regulations that can be handed to people. Kevin can decide if there's postings down there so they know ahead of time.
Sure.
And even for people that come into the community may not know, if we can put it down there, who to contact for reservations and what that fee is, and that way that it should, take care of a lot of the questions, and also notify those that people do have a reservation. I know you post it now, so that you don't end up in that fight when somebody thinks they just show up and they get to use it. Okay, I think I've covered all the things that need to be done here, David. As far as the items with specific responsibility assigned, I did want to mention on the stormwater management that we cover in the second meeting. We do have the residents at Quarry Creek now making inquiries. I reported that at the last township meeting. I did receive a response back from Don Romanchak, the Lorraine County Stormwater District manager, and it appears there's been a change now for the petition process. The residents significant amount, I didn't bring the correspondence here, but we're talking over $1,000 to pay for a bond to initiate that, which I think is going to cause some heartburn. I have not forwarded that on to the residents that are making this inquiry yet, because I want to actually speak with Don as far as what the other alternatives are and why this changed, because in the past, the Stormwater District was absorbing that fee, and the experience we just had with the one in New Russia Township, which most of the work was on the lateral 2 of the Bat House Ditch in Amherst Township, there wasn't a fee. But now it appears there will be. So I just want to talk that over with Don some more. I just want to bring you up to date on that. But we don't have any
And they
resolution
had
on
trouble.
that.
Have a bond or bonding. First, I've heard of that. And who's going to pay the bond? Like the township or they have to be the property owners? Whoever files
That's
the
what they
petition.
want, is the property owners. Right, that's what it says. The property owners would have to pay that. But I want to talk with Don to find out, because realize every one of those property owners pays into that stormwater district. So it's, if that's the rule, that's the rule. Again, I don't make the rules. I'm just standing outside the fence looking at the field and seeing what I can do to help and encourage people here. Okay, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention where it stands right now. So I'll get some more information from Don as to what's changed and what alternatives these residents have. Okay. You've also got, David, let's see, the complaints I'm going to take off there, Sam, that one on Cobblestone, that disabled vehicle's been removed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, the other one was with Denny, and he's not here. David, solid waste, did you get the Schedule E for the
I
next
didn't
bid?
forward that to Megan. I got to forward that to Megan.
Okay.
I apologize. I've been in my email like 30, 40 times since then, and I just always go to something else instead of forwarding that.
Okay.
And
All right, then I just wanted to mention, as we had at a meeting at the county on Tuesday, March 21st, this was in regards to the Tax Incremental Review Council meeting on the 10-year 75% TIF over at the Hampshire Farm for that infrastructure, supporting that development, in addition to the sewers that were extended, sanitary sewers along Overland Road. For Amherst Township, it was an uneventful meeting. The county has collected no funds on that TIF. Because our questions were, what year is they're first going to collect? Well, they've collected none yet. That particular TIF, the target date of collection was actually not based on value, as most of their TIFs are, it was based on the number of homes that have been constructed. The representative from the auditor's office was at the meeting. They obviously did not have the information we have yet. I mean, they get the information, but it was explained that they would have to go out and do an inspection, verify the homes, verify occupancy, but their trigger point is 10 single-family homes that would have to be up before they begin the TIF, which obviously they've already have in place, we know that. So they had indicated that being the case, when they go out and do their inspection, just because of the timing, the first collection of TIF funds, the soonest would actually be in 2026. And yeah, it's just, you know, the way their timing works, that's what they presented to us at the Turk meeting. So I don't think we were there more than 15 minutes and in and out. But no funds have been collected yet, and it appears the soonest will be in 2026. So people are, the good news is they're paying their property taxes, but I don't know with, you know, if the auditor's pulling in the full amount and then dispersing them the way they should be. But come 2026, we'll only get 25% of what we normally receive, and so will the schools. In this case, it's Amherst Exempted Village Schools and the JVS. And then there's all the other county levies that are there. So I have to assume we're receiving the full 100% till the county triggers that new TIF. So we'll get an update next year, since they're required by the state to hold an annual meeting on this. But
And I think too, you're always a year behind on your property taxes. So what happened last year will be reflected till this upcoming year. I think along those lines. Okay.
all right, is there any other business, David?
I have nothing to bring.
All right, our next regular meeting will be at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, April 11th. Any need for a work session, Kevin? Okay. Any other audience concerns? All right, and no need for an executive session. I think, Linda, you're aware of any litigation going on. You've notified everybody. You're the point person right now on the current pending litigation.
Yeah, nothing to report,
Okay.
except I did fulfill the public records request today,
Okay, good.
so that's done.
Good.
And Chris has been CC'd on the emails.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody's aware, because we've got individuals involved in litigation now. It's a scattergun approach. They're approaching multiple different individuals, and at this point, it has to be a united front, you know, as far as the dissemination of information, since it's currently in litigation. So if there's no other business, then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
yes.